Hey guys, it's Kyla at the MJC, and I am back with the third and final installment in our video series on the income and expense statement, where we're dealing with those household expenses. Before we hop into this video, though, as always, just a reminder that nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. This is a video, so I'm not able to analyze your specific situation to determine how something that maybe doesn't fit cleanly into a line should be applied in this situation, or to know what your judge or court commissioner would want you to do in a specific situation. So if you find yourself with questions, you can definitely get brief legal advice through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics here in Milwaukee. If you aren't located in Milwaukee, you can contact your clerk of court to find out what resources are available for pro se litigants in your area. All right, so with that out of the way, we're going to do this last section, which is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to go through your monthly household expenses. Now, for any of you that have had to do the full financial disclosure, the 8-page one, you know that this is kind of an abridged version of that, but we'll go through each of them. So the first one, you're going to put your rent or mortgage payment, and within that you're going to include property taxes, home insurance, or rental insurance if you have it. So again, you can just add those together. So if all you have is your rent is $650, then that's all you need to put. Similarly, let's say you have a mortgage payment, your mortgage is $950, but that includes your property tax escrow and also includes your homeowner's insurance. Then you're done. That $950 is all you need to put. But if you're somebody where, let's say you both rent and have renter's insurance, then you can take your calculator, say, okay, I pay $650 per month in rent, and I pay $15 per month in renter's insurance, so that's $665. And then you just put that total on that line. And the same thing would apply if your property taxes or homeowner's insurance aren't included in your mortgage payment. For line 2, you're going to do a rough estimate of how much you pay per month in food. Now, obviously, this amount can vary. It should include any amount you get in food share. So even if John, looks like he spends $400, if half of that is food share, he's still going to list the total amount. Because remember, food share counted up here as income. So here we'll also include the expense, even if food share is what ultimately pays it. For utilities, you're going to combine your electricities, your energies, your heat, your water, your sewage, your trash, all of that, you're just going to add together. And obviously here, we want to be as precise as possible, so if you can get the exact numbers, please do so. But especially with things like food, if you can just give a close estimate, so if you say, gee, I know on average I spend $150, and I go, 2 or 3 times a month, so it's about this amount. That's okay too, but you want it to be as accurate as possible. So you definitely don't want to put something wrong or put something where you really just don't know. But if you have a ballpark, you say, I know it's about 100, but I'm not sure if it's actually 98 or 102. That's okay. If you're not sure if it's 100 or 1,000, you may want to do a little more research to make sure that these numbers are pretty close. Here, phone, if you still have a landline, you'll include the landline and cell phone. If you just have a cell phone, just cell phone. If it's not an expense you anticipate, so if somebody else, you're on somebody else's plan or they pay your cell expense, you don't necessarily need to list it. We generally say if somebody else pays it for you, if the bill comes due in your name and then somebody else helps you pay it, then you're going to list the amount here as an expense, and then you're going to list their assistance, if it's ongoing, might go up here in this gross income section. So in other sources of income might be, help from grandma or something like that. If it's just sometimes they help you if you need it, you might not necessarily put it there as a consistent source of income. Just to finish that thought, if this is something where you're on your grandma's plan, it doesn't come due in your name, you don't pay it, grandma always pays it, then you could go ahead and put 0 on this line. Cable and internet, again, you can combine, and you can do just, again, a rough estimate of what that is. Here, these are going to be any insurance payments that are not paid through insurance deduction. So if up here I had a life insurance that's automatically withheld from my paycheck, I don't get to double dip and list that expense again. I only list it in one place. So, you know, maybe John has a car insurance amount. Here you're going to list any car payments that you have. So if you have, you know, $100 or $200 that you're paying towards your car loan, that'll go here. So will your monthly expenses for your car. So gas, obviously, but also repairs and maintenance. And repairs and maintenance can be a little tricky because you may not have them every month. So maybe you go 6 months without having a problem and then have to pay $500 all at once. So what we would typically say is take what you anticipate you'll spend on repairs and maintenance in a year and divide that by 12, and then just kind of pretend that you save that amount up every month. And last but not least, any expenses related to transportation other than a car. So if you have a bike and that bike needs tune-ups, or if you have a bus pass, that kind of stuff goes there. So here we'll say John has a $150 car loan that he pays every month, plus about $80 in gas and repairs and things, and he doesn't have any transportation other than a car, so this ends up being $230. Here, any medical, dental, or prescription drug expenses that you have monthly that are not covered by insurance. So again, if you have uninsured dental costs every 6 months, you could take that and divide it by 6 months. Or if you have a consistent prescription drug that you or your child has to take, if not, you can put 0. Your costs for childcare, babysitting, and daycare will go on this line. If you don't have any, you can just put 0. Here, these are any child support payments that are made, again, that are not deducted through a paycheck. And make sure these are looking for specifically court-ordered support. So not necessarily like, you know, I bought my kids shoes once 6 months ago, but really looking for that more consistent monthly support kind of thing. And again, if it's 0, you can just put 0. And then here, other expenses. So obviously these are only 10 categories. You may have other expenses. Maybe you're a smoker, and so you need to include tobacco. Maybe you get a haircut every month. All of that kind of stuff, you can just estimate and say, okay, I spend $10 on a haircut, and I spend, you know, $50 on tobacco, or what have you, those other things. Keep in mind, there are a few categories, credit card debt, student loans, that are included down here so that you won't need to include here school expenses for your kids, things like that. So we'll say that's the rough estimate. This is only if you have a second mortgage, so if you have either 2 residences or if you have like a line of credit or something against your house. If not, you can put 0. This is if you have a second vehicle payment, so if you have a motorcycle or an RV, an ATV, or if there's a secondary lien on your car, which is unusual but possible. Credit card debt. So if you have credit card debt, you're going to put the monthly minimum. If you have multiple cards, you're going to add the minimums together. You will note it wants the monthly minimums, although some people put what they actually pay. You know, which you do depends on your situation, but the form wants the monthly minimums. Here, any court-ordered obligations. So if you've been ordered by a court to pay something, or if you have, say, restitution, or if you're paying towards a judgment against you, that would go in line 15. Student loans are going to go in line 16. If you don't have a current payment on your student loans, then you'll go ahead and put 0 for now. So if you're either watching this pretty close to when it was made, when there is currently a moratorium on student loans, that might be 0. If yours are in deferment, that might be 0. Or obviously if you don't have student loans, that would also be 0. 17 is personal loans. That can include things like payday loans and title loan type stuff. 18 is any other kind of monthly installment payment that we haven't gotten to yet. And then what you're going to do is we're just going to go back and we're going to tally all of this up. So we're going to take 665 plus 400. I know it's thrilling. You guys were all hoping you'd get to watch me do some math. Plus 60, plus 60, plus 50, plus 230, plus 150, plus 40, plus $5,100. And then you're going to write the total down here. Now you'll notice that the amount here is more than the net income, so more than is brought home. That happens, unfortunately, for a lot of folks. So if it's in the same ballpark, especially because some of these may be estimates, it's probably okay. But if it's really far off, so if I get $38.55 and down here I only make $1,500, that would be a really good time to go back and see, did I mess up my income? Am I reporting less income than I actually make? Or do I have an expense where the estimate is really wrong? So it's not a huge problem if your monthly expenses end up being a bit above your net income. But do make sure that if they're really different, that you go back and make sure that it really is that your expenses are more than your income and not a situation where you may have an error at some place in the form. And then the very last section, number 7, here, you're just going to indicate whether you have assets. So assets, fancy lawyer language for just things that you own, including cars, if you own your house, real estate, or hunting land or anything like that. Personal property, so that's like everything from your shoes and your couch and your cell phone and your computer and your headphones and your pictures on your wall, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously if you have any stocks, retirement accounts, so you'll indicate whether or not you have assets worth more than $10,000. So you either say yes I do and no I do not. And so that depends. So obviously if I have a piece of real estate that I own free and clear, I very much could have something that's worth more than $10,000. So you just want to be honest here. It's not like there's a right or a wrong answer. So you'll just indicate which applies to your situation. Again, doing your best estimate of those things. And then last but not least, one more time, you're going to have to list all of your information about your address and everything down here in the signature block. That was Anytown, Wisconsin 53206. You will put your email address. If you don't have an email address, just go ahead and leave that blank. And then again, the best phone number for you. And then you'll print this off and you'll sign and date when it's printed. So that's all for the income and expense statement. At least here in Milwaukee, once you're done with this form, what you will do is you turn it in to the clerk of court in room 104, or file it via e-filing if you e-filed at least 10 business days before your hearing. That's the current procedure as of September of 2021. Obviously, things may change. So the further in the future you're watching this, the more likely it is that that process for turning this form in may be different. That's all I've got. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you need more help or want somebody to assist you in filling out the form, you can always come into our courthouse location, located in room G9 of the Milwaukee County Courthouse, or you can go to the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics to get some brief legal advice. Thank you everybody for watching, and I hope that you all go out and represent yourselves well.